Thank you very much, Paul. Oh, boy, we're here on a great night, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for another installment of Late Show Technical Maintenance Minute. Boys, take it away.
The new year is here, and that means a lot of exciting new changes in the technical maintenance department. Isn't that right, Mike?
Right indeed, Gary. First and foremost, we've begun testing the new Symphony Nitrous DX4 with real-time NTSC output for 1080 24p projects and ancillary data handling.
It only gets better, Mike. The DNX HD encoding provides a flawless HD quality at incredibly low bandwidths and pushes the envelope with Spectromac keying, fluid motion time effects, and Boris Continuum complete.
Well said, Erik and Mike. And get this, the architecture is optimized for digital HD codecs, including HDV, XDCAM HD, DVC Pro HD, and Avid DNX HD. I could go on, but we should always leave the audience wanting more. That's all the time we have for today. Remember, as we say in technical maintenance,
it ain't broke if we can fix it.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Welcome once again to the Letterman Podcast. My name is Mike Chisholm. All right, today we've got Erik Akerblom. Now, Erik worked for most of the entire Late Show run. He was hired on. He did some freelance work actually for the Pants crew, and then CBS hired him on in the early 2000s, and he was part of the technical maintenance right up until not just the end of the run of Late Show with David Letterman, but also was one of the few people who actually made the transition over to Late Show, or to the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. And I just I love talking to people who are kind of a fixture of the Ed Sullivan Theater, which is exactly what Erik is. Erik knows, boy, does he ever know the how that place is laid out. The Ed Sullivan Theater, he is a fixture of it, and there are a few people who were like that. Pat Farmer was like that, and a few other staffers that were every bit of a part of the show. And certainly Erik was and currently is that for both incarnations of CBS's late night franchise, but also very much a part of where that show is from. This is one of those guys who he works in the technical part of the show that doesn't work for other shows for CBS. He just works for shows that are in the Ed Sullivan Theater, and there's only one show that's there, and that's the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, formerly Late Show with David Letterman. Erik has all sorts of stories, and I really appreciate the fact that he is so grateful and present and where he's at right now. And I just, again, we want to just shout out all those people who are working for the Late Show with Stephen Colbert who know that their time is numbered when it comes to their employment, because the show is being canceled May of 2026. And we just want to give so much support and love to these people as they are literally driving a freight train faster and faster and faster and faster, knowing that the bridge is out, and they are doing that. And I certainly loved the last 6 weeks, or the last even year, as Erik points out, of Late Show with David Letterman. Certainly the Late Show with Stephen Colbert is shaping up to have some of these amazing moments and memories. And Erik has been there for both of them, and one of the few people who can say that. He started with Late Show as the young guy, and now he's leaving the Late Show as the old guy, with a lot of stories in the middle. Particularly, my favorite part of this conversation is where he talked about the day he found out that David Letterman was retiring from Late Show with David Letterman, and then there's a photo that we're going to show of when Dave went back to the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and he spent some time with the people who worked for his run at the Ed Sullivan Theater. A lot of fun. Please enjoy my conversation today with Erik Akerblom. Erik, oh man, this is so cool. I'm really grateful to have you here. It's I've wanted to have you here actually for quite a while. We've been Facebook friends for quite a while, and I haven't there's just some people that I haven't gotten to yet, and the people who were there for Late Show and then got to transition over to The Late Show. Small handful of people. You are still there. I believe you started your relationship with the Letterman side of CBS back in '96. You're still working for the current Colbert incarnation of The Late Show. Erik, welcome to the show. Thank you so much, and please forgive my tardiness for having you on.
Oh, Mike, thanks for having me. Yeah, I've been a fan and I'm happy to be here.
Oh, it's so good to have you here. Okay, so wear the pants jacket. I appreciate that. You're representing. We've got a bit of a slideshow that we're going to show later for some show and tell. Folks of the people who tolerate this show know that I love the show and tell stuff. But I do want to go back. First off, okay, so what is your role with it's CBS you work for directly, correct?
Yes, I work for CBS.
Okay, and what's your role there, and what has your role been over the years? Has it changed very much?
I started in the technical maintenance department, and I still am in the technical maintenance department. I was at the bottom tier, and now I'm at the top tier, but same general department. Yeah, I've just been there longer than anybody else. A lot of my colleagues retired. Most of them came over, but then, retired. Yeah, I've been in technical maintenance. I'm considered the senior engineer, whatever that means. Maybe it's because I'm the oldest.
Yep. Yeah. You worked
Yeah.
your way up. You were the junior, now you're the senior. Would you,
Yep.
it's safe to say you'd be considered one of the monkeys in the truck?
Maybe.
Technical, give the audience technical maintenance. Obviously, this side of the production, essential, essential to. It reminds me of an old Far Side. I think it was a Far Side still, and it was talking about the importance of sound engineers. And it was somebody on stage. It was a rock star on stage, and they were being a prima donna, and you saw in the foreground the sound engineer watching this behavior happen, and he was just taking the slider and turning it from awesome to crap. And to me, that's you guys. You guys are the ones that make sure the show looks so shiny, right? What's when you say technical maintenance, what would you call that?
It's
Describe it as.
basically anything in the theater, any system. It could be a cameras, lights, could be network, it could be storage, it could be anything. There was a crew of 4 or 5 people on the technical maintenance department would fix it. It ain't broke if we can fix it. That was our motto. And different people in the department specialized in different things. Other, Gary Mintz, he
Yep.
knew oldest technology. And, I was the young guy coming in my 40s. It was really kind of novel to join this crew of people who were all older than me. And they're like, oh, you're the new kid, right? You're the new kid. And I'm like, yeah, kid in my 40s. It was awesome. So, yeah, I basically anything that goes wrong. My forte is post and editing environment
Yep.
and network and avids and all of those things, workflow, show delivery, tape path, signal path, that kind of stuff. But there's other guys who are much smarter than me who know a lot more than I do. And I appreciate that.
What got you into television in the first place?
I never would have guessed I would have ended up on working on a television show. It wasn't what I thought I was going to do. I was actually a photographer, and I went into the film business, and through the help of somebody I knew in the business, and worked my way up from PA to, whatever. But people stopped asking me for the simple things and started saying, how do I fix this computer? Or how can I do a mailing list? Or and I was always the person to embrace it. I'm like, hey, I will learn, I will teach you, I will figure it out. I will make this computer get that signal onto that screen or whatever. And that was the kind of stuff that I was really interested in.
So were
Um,
you like a film photographer, or like 16 millimeter?
yeah, no, film.
Yeah.
I briefly worked at Life magazine. I went to school of visual arts. I studied photography and film. I was not studying engineering. But almost anything that I work on wasn't even invented when I was in college.
Isn't that
So
interesting?
yeah, nothing I work with was invented. So even if I learned all that stuff way back then,
Yep.
it wouldn't be pertain to what the current environment of production and post-production look like. So
Immediate antiquation. Did you and John Philo ever compare notes? I would imagine that.
kind of, yeah, occasionally. Love that guy.
Yeah.
Actually, I have I have something related to John tonight to show you.
Oh,
Picture.
excellent. Okay, well, we'll get back to that then. John, of course, he's been on the show. He's the CBS behind the scenes photographer, and I mean, he's got his stories have stories, and boy, the archive that he has collected over the years. My goodness. What? So always in New York? Like when you said you got into film a little bit, what? Any notable films? Was it all stuff in the New York area?
No, actually, I started in London.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, I went backpacking for 2 months and I didn't come back for 5 years. And I ended up getting a job for a photographer who went into the film business, who didn't know anything about the film business. And I'm like, I know all about the film business. I know about shutter speeds and all the whole thing. I mean, so that's when I started. But when I came back here in the US, nobody knew me. They're like, I don't know. You didn't work for me. You're not in the union. We don't know your father. We don't, you like,
Yep.
it was tough, but a director neighbor of mine who, when I was a kid, took me on as a PA in his production company, even though, like, by that time, I was way more skilled than PA.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you learn that stuff along the way, and I do love that. It's kind of a frustrating when you get back. Obviously, nobody knew who you were, but the idea though that kind of brotherhood that's there, where it is who you know, and once you get in, it is a family.
Yeah,
Very, very much so on the technical side of both film and TV, isn't it?
yeah, it's a big small business. It seems huge, but you run into the same people all the time. Oh, I worked with this person over there. I knew them from there, or whatever. It is a big small business. So I eventually I worked my way up and got into post-production. I worked
Yep.
for Editel, I worked for Unitel. And it was when I was at Unitel that I had recommended we buy this really, really expensive video card. It was like $18,000. And they're like, you're crazy, right? And I'm like, no, I'm actually not crazy. This will change your business. This will make your life easier, produce stuff quicker. And they were like, okay, we'll buy it. And they bought it. So we were happy. We were the only people in New York who had it. It was good for us. And then the next person who bought one was David Letterman.
You're kidding.
Um, no, so they couldn't get it to work. So they were complaining to the manufacturer, $18,000. This stupid thing doesn't work. We want our money back, blah, blah, blah. And the manufacturer's like, listen, there's one in New York. There's only one other one in New York, and it works perfectly. And so Tim Kennedy,
I was going to ask if it was Tim. Yep.
Tim Kennedy called up Unitel and said, how did you get your card working? And they're like, well, we got this guy named Eric. And he's like, can we borrow your Eric? Can we pay him? Can we pay you? Whatever happens, just send him over here to get the card working. So I went over there one night at I think it was like 9 or 10 o'clock at night because they wanted to be after the edit. They were like,
Yep.
don't touch anything. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I walked into Cheryl Herney's office
Yep.
where the computer was and the card, and I think it took me like 4 hours to sort of get it sorted out because her computer was a little built by somebody different.
Right.
So,
Yeah. You had to learn the
and
dialect.
yeah, and so then they kept asking me back just to kind of check up on it and this and that. And this is like late 95, early 96.
Yep.
And that was great. I really enjoyed that. And then
Because you were a Letterman fan. You loved Letterman,
I
right?
was a Letterman fan. Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, because of my sister's insistence, I knew somebody who worked at NBC, and I'm like, hey, could you get me a ticket to Letterman? So I was actually at show number, I think it was 13, Don Giller told me. Um,
Wow.
at NBC. Yeah, it was really early on. I think it was my birthday. And I remember the following year, I got a call from the audience department, and they're like, "Hey, you were in this audience last year on this day. Were you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, we want to invite the same exact audience back. We're having the same guests, the same audience, the same everything. Would you come? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, I would come. That was my second. I may have the dates wrong. I could
Yeah,
even have the years wrong, but based on what Don told me, I thought it was show number 13.
that
But
is
somebody will,
fantastic.
somebody
And
will
that's
look
your
up.
first exposure with the show. Now, obviously, working for Unitel. Okay, so working for them, in post, you had been around, the business, quite a bit. You get invited down to the Ed Sullivan Theater. Any majesty there for you, or at that point there, are you kind of a seasoned pro and whatever the background is the background?
Oh no, I'm thrilled to have a new freelance client, somebody who, I really enjoy. I never got past the seventh floor
Right.
because nothing I was working on was in the basement where everything is or on the
Yep.
stage. But they were incredibly nice to me, and they paid me well. And it was only when they merged with Viacom the first time I
Yep.
got burned. They were like, get out. And it wasn't the people, it was the Viacom people. Like, we have people who do what you do. We don't need you as a freelancer. So they just said, shove off. So for 5 years, I think I didn't do any work for them as a freelancer.
Okay, so
Uh,
you started, so we're talking 95, 96-ish is when you were freelancing, and that's when you started with them. And then, so you took a break from 97 to 2001 kind of a thing? Or
no,
how long was it? Had you been there
it
for a
was,
while before they popped in?
I don't remember the years that the Viacom merger was, but
Okay.
I think I worked a couple of years freelance,
Yep.
and then nothing. And then probably in the early 2000s, um, I started to get called back in to work on things.
Gotcha. And back then, what were kind of, I know you were a bit of a catch-all, and I understand that you have specific knowledge about this specific video card, that sort of a thing. If there was a majority of things that you'd be doing for the show, I mean, back at that time, 95, 96, that was when things were really, really, really hot, obviously. It was very fresh into the CBS years. What were some of the things that, some of your memories of the time back then? Because the circus was there almost every day, a lot of the time.
Yeah. You know, it was so exciting to be around there and associated with it, but I was still like kind of on the surface. I didn't get deep into, the party and the people and what's going on. But I got treated really well. I don't have too many, like, I never got tickets to the show. I
Yep.
never, you know, I didn't really hang around that much.
So your primary time that you were there at those times you were after the show was recorded was when you would kind of jump into action?
Do maintenance in the dark hours, and it's perfect for me because I'm a late night guy. I also stay up and watch the show every night. I mean,
Right.
every night I work on it. I see it rehearsed, I see it taped, and then I see it aired because I've always been a fan. So yeah, that's been a joy.
Yeah, I was going to say a very unique perspective being able to see the show, knowing that you are one who did watch it. Because it's funny. I find that the people I talk to, more people than not, didn't watch the show. They were there for their part, whatnot. The idea that you would literally see it shepherded and know all the things in between that get it on air and then watch the final product, a pattern of gratification, seeing that like that's just a beautiful, that's a very, very cool thing. I gotta ask this right off the bat. Did you ever work with Shecky? Did you work with Rick Sheckman at all?
Yeah, yeah, sure,
I
sure.
figured you would have.
Very, very.
Him being the film coordinator, is the he never asked for a title bump. He if he wanted, he would have been one of the producers, that sort of thing. Rick, I got to be friends with him, the last sort of 5 years of his life. But it seems to me, the guys on the technical maintenance crew are the guys that Shecky would love to have hung with. That you guys were the ones that he would have been sort of his people.
Yeah, he was sweet, but we didn't really like have like in the current administration, I have access to every floor
Right.
of the office building as well
Yep.
as the theater. I have super access. I can go anywhere. In those days, we could only go on the seventh floor or the basement. There were no other floors that my pass, worked on. We weren't, they had reception and worldwide pants behind another door. So we didn't really get to spend too much time with those people. But when things were going on or when things were going wrong, or we were throwing out new technology, or hey, we're going to put a system in your desk where you can actually watch all these things, etc. That's when we mostly got to interact with people like Shecky. But he was really good at just all of a sudden walking up to you and just whispering some advice in your ear. And I really appreciated that. He was, to guide me through that environment when I was a young new guy. He was very helpful. Brian Tetta, a bunch of people were like super cool with me just to kind of, help me out.
Well, and you mentioned Brian Ted. I love that you mentioned him too, because again, another person who came in on the young side of an old production, and I love that there is that life cycle. With Letterman's body of work, at one point they were the snot-nosed kids working in 30 Rock, and you got all these old union guys with cigarettes in their mouths and looking at what these kids are doing. By the time you guys like you and Tedda got there, you were the kids. And working with a lot of these veterans that were there on a show that had already established legendary status. Very cool to be that part of the life cycle and to see people like Tedda and other people establish themselves and then go into big, again, like you said, going from the junior guy to the senior guy. You saw a lot of that.
Yeah, yeah. It was the best crew in the business, the best everybody in the business. I mean, just to land there was a miracle. The way I got in, for the full-time job
Yep.
was, all of a sudden one day I got a call from Cheryl Herney and she said, "Hey, your dream job just became available. One of the maintenance engineers, Brad, is
Yep.
leaving for Major League Baseball. You should apply for that job right now." And I was like, "You bet." And I called him up and I came down and I had an interview on Monday morning and boom, I got hired. They knew who I was. I was a known quantity. I'd been there before. I also had, people like Cheryl championing for me and
Yep.
Tim Kennedy, I assume, that it really helped me get in there.
So here's I'm always fascinated with the idea of the worldwide pants aspect of things, and then the CBS aspect of things, and then the union of course. So you go for this job. You're actually applying for a job with CBS, not Worldwide Pants, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and they're dealing with all the unions that they need to deal with. Is it one of those things where it's like, okay, yes, I have some experience here. You've got somebody in your corner championing you, but are there also restraints that other people might apply for that job that have seniority that might have been around the company in other places? Was that ever, a part of a thing, or because they wanted you, they knew that there was a route to get you?
I think it was probably competitive. I know one of my other colleagues who I used to work with at Editel,
Yep.
he also applied. But I'm not really sure how many other people. I was in there so quick. As soon as they knew Brad was leaving, Cheryl said, "Hey, I think this is the guy I'd like to work with if I have to interface and blah, blah, blah." So I was extremely lucky to get that call. Thank you, Cheryl.
Shout out to Cheryl. And so, working for CBS in this role, how many shows did you work for? Was it just Letterman, or were there multiple shows that you worked for?
No, I've only worked on Letterman. That's it. And
Wow.
obviously Colbert version.
How well do you how well do you know the Ed Sullivan Theater in that area? Like, do you know that thing like the back of your hand? Are you?
I know the hidden passages. I know
Yep.
where Dave used to disappear to. There's a lot of cool, but it's all been ripped apart and totally rebuilt. It's very sort of, the footprint is different and the layout's a little different, but
Yep.
yeah, I can't believe there's going to be a time where I'm not going to be in the Ed Sullivan Theater, and that's coming soon.
And I
You know,
know that we want to be as respectful as we possibly can, to your current position and riding out, what is going to be, I mean, I've talked about it a lot on the show here. I'm devastated of the fact that the franchise isn't going to be there anymore. And part of that devastation is that that franchise has been tied to that legendary theater that has so much energy and so much history in show business. And you know, the fact that you have said, like, my gosh, how many years is that? 30 years? 30 years or more that you have been, you know, the vast majority of your time is spent in this theater. I appreciate the fact, I love the fact that you appreciate it and that you're grateful, like in your current about it. I want to ask about the hidey hole. I don't know if we can, you know, when Dave appeared on The Late Show, you know, with Stephen, one of the things that they talked about was one of the questions back in the day that Stephen asked Dave was, is there a place that I can hide from my producers?
Yeah.
And Dave told him a spot. And they reminisced about this when Dave appeared on The Late Show. I guess, okay, so this is the only question I'm going to ask about that. Is it the same spot?
No comment.
We'll talk in June. We'll talk in June about it. That's beautiful that you would even mention, you know, that moment, and you do know the history. Is the passageway to the pizza joint, is that still there?
Is the pardon?
The passageway to the pizza joint, is that still there?
Oh, that's still there. Yeah.
That's still there. Okay. I don't suppose you were near that spot when they smuggled Leno in back in the day, were you?
I knew about it. I saw the rehearsal. I saw oh God, watching all that stuff while it was being taped. It was so much fun.
You must have had goosebumps.
It was very cool.
And okay, so again, to talk about like the depth of knowledge that you have, Rick told me so few people knew about that. Like that was a really closely guarded secret, and it was guarded right up until Super Bowl Sunday when that commercial with Oprah and Jay and Dave appeared. You know, the reports were that Barack Obama from the White House was real time making phone calls saying, "Hey, how did they do that? Was that real?" While the Super Bowl was going on, so few people knew about it. You're one of them. You knew about it.
Yeah, because you know, if you're going to tape it and it's going to end up in the post environment, yeah, there was only like one editor who knew about it. Post super, or you know, like very few people knew. But yeah, I was in that film chain where I got to watch it, so I was like, yeah, this is fun.
No kidding. And the fact that you can, like, you know, I asked that question earlier, you said no comment. The fact that you can keep your cards close to the chest, you know, obviously a huge attribute. And I mean, you're not going to be on the team if you can't do that. Let's face it. Let's talk about some of I assume that there were shows that went off the rails, and it was your job and your cohort's job to kind of put it back on the rails and to fix things. There's one in particular that I think I want to wait till the end. So I'll put it this way. I'm going to ask you about the montage in the last show, but I want to wait till the end to ask about that because I've heard so many stories about that montage, and I'm very curious about your perspective. But clearly there were shows along the way where you guys were racing maybe against the clock to try and get the tape to the broadcast center, that sort of a thing. Do you have any stories around that you that come to mind?
That definitely happened. You know, when I worked on Letterman, I was every night I worked late. Until the show was delivered, and back then the show was delivered by hand on two videotapes, a run. An AD would go over to the broadcast center and go, here it is. And there was a couple of occasions where we just weren't going to be able to make it to air that way. So we literally had to queue up two Avids with the program.
Yep.
No, sorry.
What do we got?
I tapped my finger on the table and the dog went crazy thinking someone's
I didn't even hear it over here. No, all good. By the way, people like dogs. We're all good. This is good.
A lot of barking. But so we had to line up the edit on two Avids and literally play it out live, or the tapes were finished or being finished while Act 1 was running. Act 5 might be laid down to tape, and swapping tapes and
very interesting, but always made it to air. Never had an issue. I think it was only like 2 or 3 times in my span there. A pretty rare event.
Did it also happen the very first night of Colbert's show?
Yes, it did.
That was as you were saying that it only happened a few times where we had to do it like real time. I thought in my head, I was like, I'm pretty sure one of the times was the very first The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. But I mean,
Yeah.
like the adrenaline at that point must be just you. You must be able to taste it. It must be so exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. There's a bunch of adrenaline, but I learned this on Letterman because I'd never had this before in any place that I worked. When every single person around you is the best at what they do,
Yep.
and they're so confident and they've seen everything happen before, it really helps. It really helps with not being nervous and this is going to get done. We're going to figure out how to do this. And yeah, being with like the best crew in the business is super important in pressure situations like that.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, you gotta rely on your foxhole buddies that are around you, right? They're all in it. They're all just as dedicated as you are, and just very present in that moment.
Mhm.
Um, what were some of the things like I've heard, we've had Harvey Goldberg on the show, who another one of the handful of people who has stayed over and almost like similar to yourself, Eric, like almost a custodian of the theater itself and the bones of what happens in the theater as well as Harvey. They built him a new studio. He talked about that and many times musical guests would have to either reperform or they would have to do some heavy post work. Again, I love the hybrid between live and produced. It's such a unique thing, especially considering with music, with what you guys do. It's masterful. I assume that might be something that might cause delays in getting the tape to the broadcast center.
Yeah, that those kinds of things do happen, can happen. I think it was my second day at the show
Yeah.
as a full timer, and I literally I'm 6'4", over 200 pounds, and
Yep.
I literally had to climb under Harvey's floor, his drop floor, and find one cable out of like 10,000 cables or something. It was pretty exciting, but we fixed it. So yeah, those guys. But again, any kind of like stress or pressure in the background, they keep it to themselves. They're
Yeah.
not. Nothing's going to leave that room. None of their anxiety or whatever is going on with them isn't going to be shared. So nobody else is going to be like, oh, we should worry about this. No, they're very professional and they're very buttoned up and they know how to. It's great to still work with Harvey. I love it.
Oh yeah, well yeah. I mean, you want to talk about a guy who is a master of his craft and has, his musical lineage of the things that he has worked on and been a part of, just unbelievable. And again, I look at what you guys are doing at the Late Show, and when it comes to musical performance in front of an audience on television, I don't think that there is a better show, and I think it's been that way since the Letterman days. I mean, I remember watching. I'm so grateful when Late Show went down the path and started doing the live at Letterman concerts and things like that. I imagine that those were things you worked on as well.
Yes, we got to work on all of those webcasts, so to speak, and yeah, that was so exciting. Fantastic people coming through, and Jerry Foley did an amazing job. It was really something to have that kind of energy in the theater. It was, the way, way, way high energy. It was super.
Did you interact with Jerry every single day, and was it very much, or was it just more of a reporting to everything's okay, boss, or like how much interaction did you have with Jerry?
I don't know if my predecessors had as much, but I certainly did. Because I always proposed new ideas. I'm like, Jerry, what if we do this? Or we could have an assist station where you could sit it on your desk and you could see all the cuts that are being worked on. Or,
Mhm.
he wanted me to build him some sort of dictation system for books and things he was, working on with Pete Pellin and like different stuff. And it was, he was always open to new ideas and like, yeah, blow me away, show me something, show me new technology that's going to make my life better or easier to work with. And yeah, I loved working with him. He was super nice.
The accolades, of course, that Jerry gets, posthumously, but also before he passed away. Everyone just talked about just the job that he had. And I mean, I don't know if there was a person in the production that had a harder job than Jerry did, having to they always say stuff rolls downhill, right? And the pressure from the executive part of the show, for him to execute what they were looking for while being creative at the same time and being able to kind of roll with the punches and do things, and then also manage teams, not just a team, but teams of people at the same time, and having to be that person right in the middle of such bigness on top and below, and just, again, unrelenting the amount of shows that you guys produced and how it was just over and over, the Groundhog Day effect of it. It takes a special person to be able to direct a show like that for a long time. And anytime I have somebody on who worked with Jerry, I like to spend a little bit of time with him. Talking about him, I've met him a few times. We traded a couple dozen emails maybe, and just such a kind man. Yet at the same time, there are people on the production not necessarily thinking that because of the tonnage of stuff that he, was dealing with and transferring to you all. Anytime somebody mentions Jerry, I like to do a little soliloquy about him because he's just an amazing guy. You worked with him that long. Other impressions, any other impressions of Jerry that come to mind as I say these things, Erik?
He was always willing to give advice, which was great, career-wise. And, he was such a veteran in the business and he'd seen everything that, he was always being the conductor of 200 plus people and making sure everything happens at the right time. He was very good at that. I mean, he had a temper. I got to see it occasionally. It was interesting. And, with some people not on our show or some people on our show, things needed to go the way Jerry wanted them to go. And that's why he was so good. But God, it was so much fun to work with him. I was so sorry when he passed.
Yeah, it's very, very unexpected and sad, and just all of the things that come with that. And it just, oh yeah. And again, somebody who I'm really grateful that there are some tributes to him that are out there. Like Walter Kim built that beautiful, beautiful one that that went out not that long ago. It went out just shortly after Late Show left the airwaves, but then also again it surfaced again after Jerry's passing, and it was it's such a beautiful tribute to him. And so many people have so many beautiful, beautiful things to say about that guy. Let's talk about a little bit of some content, some stuff that happened on the show that you remember, perhaps. And I mean, I want to talk about when you guys were actually featured on the show. I thought that was just it was such a genius classic Letterman bit, the way that they featured you guys on the show. I want to get to that too, but it feels like, if I'm getting the impression properly, if it's coming across properly, Erik, is that while I, the fan, get to watch and enjoy some of the content on the show, like, different shows come to mind. The one that that I can't stop really thinking about. I love it so much because it happened in real. I love the moments that happened in real time. Can we play these Eagle songs on tonight? And suddenly the whole show stops and they're trying to go back and forth to try and find if they can get clearances, and there's extra camera positions because we're doing new things. I love that. But were there ever nights where things kind of happened spontaneously that you remember from a content perspective? Or were you just the guy that couldn't really focus on that because you had to focus on the technical aspects of the show?
Yeah, I don't know if we got exposed too much of that. Those kinds of things didn't go out over the intercom, whereas the current system with intercom, we can hear everything. If we need to, we can hear everything anybody says. But in those days, I didn't really, we didn't get a whole lot of that kind of feedback. And also, I was at the tail end of Dave's career.
Right.
Most of the time, he didn't come to rehearsal.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, writer would sit in, and it wasn't Dave. So there wasn't that, kind of energy on the set. It was a little different. Everybody's walking through it. The cameras need to know what's going to happen. The director needs to know. It's useful, but it's not the same energy as a taping. And the tapings were always exciting. I can't really think of anything like super spontaneous unless we went out into the street
Yeah.
and hosey or some bit that we were doing. We did some cool stuff on the roof, or the it's so exciting when we had Paul McCartney on the marquee.
Yep.
Those are like the more exciting things that I can think of, but nothing like spontaneously in my memory goes, oh yeah, I remember the night this happened. Or
Like one of my, it's probably my top. It's in my top 10 favorite moments from Late Show for sure. Was the night John McCain was supposed to come on, but then didn't come on. And
oh yes,
there we go. So like that. There's an example of that spontaneous. Okay, the show now was this. We thought it was going to be this, but now it becomes this. And you guys after the fact are supposed to piece it all together into one coherent narrative. And
well, we
that,
did
that,
see
that was
it
the night.
happening because somebody did look at the CBS cameras and saw where he was, and then they went, "Hey, guess what?" Because we have access to everything. If I go through the television in my office,
Yep.
I can get a live picture of the White House. I've got every CBS camera and RAM that are out there. I have access to, and other people did, and the control room does, and
Yep.
somebody went, "Uh-oh, look what we just found out," and that was really a fun and exciting moment uh, of discovery. And then just here we go. We're going to load the shotgun and let him have it. It was, and he deserved it. It was fun.
Oh, absolutely. It was just that. Those are those moments where so special. And also the moment where not the moment, but I really really loved the show when you talk about the show had become very routine. Dave not coming to rehearsal, that sort of a thing. I think of the times when like when Conan lost the Tonight Show. And then every night Dave's coming out there and it's ripped from the headline stuff. And I'm curious if and I know we're not going to talk too much about the current show until we get you on after May this year. But that being said, I remember that time and how fresh and everything seemed in 2009, 2010. And I think about now with how present everybody must be. I was wondering if those two time frames might be a similar feelings for the time and place of the show.
Yeah, I think so. I, obviously the current show is much more political and
Hmm.
much more, following what's going on in politics. Dave did, but not to the same extent. We're looking for fun things, stupid things. The more stupid, the better.
Yep.
It was that kind of stuff. So, um, yeah, I wasn't really aware of as much of a news-driven thing as, and also we didn't all have all those resources of, internet was very young. There's not places to Google stuff and verify or something. So there was a lot of smart researchers and people who knew what the hell they were doing. But I think they're kind of different times.
Moving towards the end of Late Show. Um, I've said it many times on this program and to other people as well. For me, the last 6 weeks of Late Show with David Letterman is the best 6 weeks of television in any era. It was so good, and I imagine that I imagine that that's one of those unique times in life that you'll never be able to kind of replicate. It was just a unique moment, and very, very special for you as well. That last 6 weeks. Would you want to talk about that a little bit? Then maybe we can get to that montage because I do want to
Yeah,
ask you about that night.
sure. Yeah. Not only the last 6 weeks, but the last year was very memorable for me. From the moment Dave announced he was stepping down, um, everything changed. Uh, Believe it or not, I had a job interview that morning. I was at ABC News. They wanted to hire me away.
No
And
kidding.
yeah, and I went to the interview. I wasn't looking for a job. I was recruited. And because why would I leave? I was super happy. But, evaluate every opportunity, which
Sure.
I'll need to do soon. But uh anyhow, I went through, I met with like three people. At the end of it, they were like, here, sign this, you're hired. And it was, I don't know, it was almost double my salary. And
Wow.
but with a asterisk, some nights and weekends, some 4 a.m. calls for Good Morning America, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't exactly even.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was a good amount of money, and my father always taught me to just evaluate every opportunity, sleep on it, think about it the next day. And I'm like, I'm going to tell you tomorrow. And they're
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to tell you tomorrow. That's what I mean. And so I go to work, and live in front of the audience, Dave says, I'm going to retire. I'm going to step down, or I'm leaving the show in about a year. And I was floored the same day. And I was like, huh, I don't know. And it's now public because the audience has heard it.
Yep. Yep.
After the taping, I called up the woman, my contact at ABC, and I said, hey, I don't know if you heard or not, Letterman's retiring. And she's like, excuse me? And I said, Letterman's retiring. And she goes, hold on. And she's like, Letterman's retiring. She's shouting to the newsroom, like, how we don't know this yet. But the tapings happened. It's already
Yep.
public.
Yep.
No. And she said, well, I guess that means you're going to take the job. And I said, you know what? That's the reason I'm not going to take the job, because the last year of Letterman is going to be so insane that I don't care. And if you really want me, you'll still want me a year from now.
Oh,
So
Eric, I got goosebumps right now. That is,
so yeah, I'm not leaving. You're gonna have to drag me out of this theater. And then, was that a wise decision? Maybe not. Did I know I would get further work with another show? I had no idea. Um, didn't even think about it, but I couldn't imagine not putting it to bed, not being the person who turned out the lights. That's really where it was at for me. Um, so yeah, and then eventually I was asked to start planning a Colbert show,
yeah.
uh, and then was eventually chosen as one of the people to work on it. So I was very thrilled. Um, I don't know what's going to happen this time.
Wow. Yeah. You know what? I gotta say this too. I've said it. I've said it on the show too. But just please, please, please convey. There's a lot of people out there that feel really bad for all of the staff and everything that's going to happen. People. A lot of people say, "Oh, Colbert will land on his feet." Of course, Colbert will land on his feet. Of course, he will. He is a world class talent, and I can, the idea of Colbert Unleashed, how much time until Colbert Unleashed can happen, whatever that looks like, in the world of entertainment, in broadcasting, that's going to be great. But I visited your show a couple of times, the Colbert Show a couple of times, and seeing the family that's there and the team that's there, and knowing that that team has a half life, and you're moving towards that. You know, what an interesting perspective. The fact that you could, goosebumps, Eric, listening to that story, the idea that the very day you're offered another job, okay, I'm going to go sleep on it. And in the process of getting to the place to sleep on it, you find out Dave is leaving. And I cannot, like, that's the decision I would have made too. That's the decision a lot of people would have made from a perspective of going, okay, I don't care about the money because this next year is going to be nuts and historic. And you were a part of it. and clearly no regret there whatsoever. A lot of people would just say, "Oh, the money situation's better," but really being present and thinking about there are things that are more important than money, and the family that you had there, you got to be part of an incredible time and place in the history of pop culture.
Agreed. I'm ridiculously lucky.
Wow. Wow. that's that is a beautiful part of your part in this, of your story in this, Eric. That last year, lots of crazy stuff going on. Okay, so whenever there were remotes, you'd never leave the Ed Sullivan Theater was kind of the bat cave for you. You wouldn't leave there. You wouldn't be going on remotes. You wouldn't be going. You were the person that received things and helped usher them to become part of the show. That was essentially your station for the
Yeah,
production.
I never went out remotely with anybody or did anything like that kind of stuff. No.
Okay, but you were featured on the show.
Yes, a couple of times we got to be. I was shocked, but yeah, it was a running bit that existed before I came. Brad was in it.
Yeah.
Steve Hostomsky was in it. Bunch of other people. So I was happy that it continued. It was really fun. The technical maintenance minute.
The technical maintenance minute, and it's exactly like you would think it would be if you're an enthusiast of David Letterman, you know exactly where we're going with this. They bring staff on from a very specific department, and they get them just talking about technical equipment jargon, and that was essentially the bit. What a beautiful piece. Now, and how much of these little speeches that the three of you made, how much of it was absolute bullshit versus how much of it was absolute, real? Were you just taking names of equipment, just putting them together, or was it all actual technical? Did it make sense to other people who were in the maintenance technical department?
Yeah, 100% real. Every single little sniggle, at least when I was on, the writers would come to us and say, "Hey, give us something, give us like something to work on, and we'll take." So we would give them, advertising stuff from Avid or this or that, or here's the new version of this, and they would just literally copy it down, and we would read it, and for them and I'm pretty sure somebody could confirm this, but their whole goal was to give Gary Mintz the most difficult tongue twister because if he screwed up, it was much funnier. He was always deer in the headlights kind of guy, and they would just I was like I would look at my cue card and then I would look at his cue card and I'd be like, damn, they're giving him the hardest stuff to read so that he will screw up. And that was brilliant. It was a lot of fun.
And it was near the end of the run that you guys did that, right?
Uh, I don't know. I did like three or four, but I think only two of them ended up on the air.
Right.
We got bumped by, I don't know, somebody, and some big thing happened that day, and boop, we're bumped.
Oh, and that would happen a lot. Yeah. I've said this. I wish it was organized, and I wish Jackie were still with us and whatnot to even talk about how it would have been organized. How many extras made it to the cutting room floor and never like fully produced extras and things that would have been just fine if, like you said, something didn't happen. Dave, deciding to talk about a current event rather than these things, and then they just go away. How cool would it be to unearth some of these things that never saw the light of day and show because they're entertaining, they're funny stuff, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of that stuff. You probably would have seen some of those things. Okay,
I'm
Dave
sure.
went long here. We're gonna have to drop this, and
Yeah.
yeah, you saw a lot of how the sausage got made.
Yes, I watched it while it was being made. And Dave was unique. He didn't want anyone to ever re-edit his show. All he wanted was the final masters of it. So on the shelf in the tape room were two tapes of every show, and every Monday morning, the entire previous week's media, all the cameras, all the ISOs, everything went delete. No archive, never backed up, not put on tape, nothing, just literally thrown away. So anything that got produced that didn't hit the air literally doesn't exist unless somebody got it out of a dumpster on a tape. But there was never any, trace of any other media because he owned the show. He had the right to do that.
Yep.
Where CBS owns our current show, they own everything, so they get everything.
Well, and it's funny, just like I think about, I don't know how aware you are of what Conan was doing at the time on his TBS show, but he almost kind of went the opposite way. Like they would have actual, I believe they called them scraps shows. And what they were literally shows that were assembled footage of the rehearsals and some of the things and behind the scenes that never made it to air. And they would actually make full shows of it. Boy, that's interesting. The audience Q&A, was that ever, do you remember that if that was recorded and ever kept, or is that one of those things where on the Monday morning that would be the stuff that would be erased?
It would be recorded for sure. As soon as, Dave's out there, the cameras are rolling. And nope, it wouldn't exist. Not only the camera lens that got bashed with the microphone. Dave used to bang it on there. And but no, there was no other physical trace of all those cool things.
Wow.
Somebody has an archive that we don't know about. I mean.
Oh, wouldn't that be great? Don's got the most complete collection, and I know that Shecky had little tidbits and things like that. Like it was cool when that they had the foresight to save Dave's last Q&A, before the last show. That's been released, that sort of stuff. But yeah, there was a lot of gold that happened in all those moments. And I mean, I guess it's one of those things where being part of the family, that makes it that much more special because you get to see a whole lot of stuff that the public just doesn't get to see, and the joke just stays within the family.
Yep. That's the way it was.
Huge advantage of being part of that family. How many kids you got, Erik?
I have 2 kids.
2 kids. What are their names?
Anna and EJ.
Anna and EJ, at least one of them, highlighted in the great Sue Hum's Halloween kids Halloween costumes for the new year for this year. I believe one of your kids was one of the miners trapped in the mine and being rescued from back in the day. That was
Yes.
One of your kids.
Yes, EJ was on the show. He made air. He was a Chilean miner in a rescue capsule.
Before the show, somebody said, Dave, you can go ahead and eat the expired cheese. More proof that they're trying to kill me. Hi. Oh, well, here they are. Look, ladies and gentlemen. Look, they spent 70 days underground in a Chilean gold mine. And here they are tonight, complete with the rescue capsule. How you doing, buddy?
Good.
Must have been tough down there, huh?
Yep.
Well, good to have you back topside.
Thank you.
What's your name?
EJ.
EJ, good to have you with us. Having a nice evening?
Yep.
What do you want?
Candy.
Well, we don't have any candy. How about this? This is a gift certificate for Meineke Car Care Center. That's for $15, my friend. There you are. Go nuts. Good luck. Be careful.
Thank you.
Good night.
That rescue capsule cost like $2,500 to make. It was insanely, and they measured him first for it so that it would fit him only. And he also was supposed to be the situation from the Jersey Shore, but that part got cut. So yeah, he was the Chilean miner, and it was a thrill for him. My daughter, unfortunately, never made the cut. She was a little too young before they cut it off, and as we got towards the end, it was more popular people than me. Their kids were getting on, not my kid.
Right. All right. Oh, because there was a hierarchy of whose kid got to be in
There's
the.
definitely a hierarchy. Who you are, yeah, for sure, and that's okay. There's no problem with that. I was super, super excited for him to be on.
Were you nervous when the camera would turn on to you? You seem like a pretty chill person. Like you seem pretty even keel when it comes to this stuff. When you were doing your segments, would you get nervous at all?
No, I don't know why, I don't really get nervous speaking in front of people, or it just doesn't get me. Just want to concentrate on not screwing up. That's really I really tried with my lines I knew they were trying to get Gary to fumble, but I didn't want to be the guy who did it first.
Right, right, gotcha.
Um,
Um, okay, so let's before we get to the slideshow and talk about I want to get to that last night. Because the last show, again, a master stroke. You guys landed it perfectly, but the descent to the landing pad, there was some bumpiness that was there. This is one of those things where talk about delivering the tape. It did not get to CBS until shortly before broadcast. And a big part of that to do with the, again, in some would say insane idea of playing live music to a canned montage. Insanely difficult thing to do. I want to talk about this montage because it is one of the greatest pieces of television, especially when you consider something that is summing a body of work up. I don't know that there's ever been a better one. The entire team deserves accolade upon accolade to get it done. From what I hear, the practice went real well, and it went almost flawlessly. But then when you got to the real thing, the train came off the tracks. Is that accurate?
I'm not sure if I'm remembering it that way, and
Okay.
people who maybe know better would know better than that. I do know it was months and months and months of effort by a bunch of people pulling stuff, video, stills. Oh, we're not allowed to show that as video. Oh, that has to be a still. We don't have the rights to this, or I can't even imagine the amount of preparation to cover as many things as that were in that.
Yeah.
Um, I know the editor, Mark Spada. It
Yep.
was at least one of the editors. I think he was the main editor on that. Unbelievable job. I mean, just crazy. And for me, the euphoria of the show being over and us, getting to air. It was a long episode, right? They allowed us to run over, I believe.
Almost a
Uh,
half hour. Yeah.
yeah, and that causes technical issues because nobody's ready for that. We knew there's a possibility, but it was, yeah, and then there was an after party immediately after that at MoMA, which we
Did you
could
make it there, or were you one of the ones that had to miss it?
eventually made it there, but not at the peak time, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That's the way it always is for us in the post side of it is like we're gonna be the last people out the door. And yeah, I'm personally not aware. And I was just, I still have the last 10 episodes of the show on my TiVo,
Yeah. Yeah.
like refuse to delete them. And I don't remember it going off the rails. I, I, I
I heard a chair was thrown in the editing bay. I heard that
it didn't make it
setting
to
up
me.
was not
I,
the easiest thing in the world.
I really,
All
I
right.
could
Okay.
not confirm that at all because
All right.
I know it was a tough night. It was a sad night. There was a
Yeah.
lot of people, you know, uh, not rehired, not having jobs to go to. But I don't remember any of that. But
Okay.
I live on the seventh floor now, whereas back then I lived in the basement.
Right.
And I came up, I was uh in the background, really,
I
not
gotcha. Uh,
foreground.
so that being said, you alluded to it earlier, and I want to talk a little bit about that. So the announcement is made that Stephen Colbert will be David Letterman's successor, and things will continue, similar, being in the venue. But that being said, a lot of preparation for that to happen, and then the moment the show ends, the transformation of the theater, astounding. But I'm curious. Let's go back. How long before the show ended were you already kind of handpicked to say, okay, yeah, we need you to help prepping for the transition?
Well, I remember, I started to get invited to meetings that I normally would never have been invited to over at the broadcast center. And I started to feel like, okay, well, at least they want my opinion.
Yeah.
We're going to do this, or we're going to do this differently, or we're going to build this, or we're going to. let's plan it. So I felt good about that, but I wasn't really sure
Right.
that I would make it through to the other side. There was one brutal day where they just called people into a conference room one after the other, and person would come out and go, "Nope, I'm let go."
Wow.
Another one, another one, another one, and I walked in there pretty nervous. But it's hard to get rid of me because I know where the wires are. Um, it's well, the Ed Sullivan
Pat
Theater.
Farmer, same thing. I
It's
mean, he
it's
came
a
over too, right?
yeah, it's a beast of a place. And if you don't know, it took me my first year. It took me a whole year to really kind of get comfortable with the whole signal path and where everything was.
Yep.
To throw that away is tough. You don't want to do that. If Colbert brought his engineers over from that studio in that other space, they wouldn't know anything about the Ed Sullivan Theater. And
Yeah.
and their studio is begging them to stay because they're the ones who know what's going on in that studio. So
Right.
for me, I've sort of became kind of part of the building. Not intentionally, but that's what it happened is my set of knowledge was valuable moving forward.
That's a good way of putting it. And there was a few of you who were who were just as attached to the building as to what was performed within the building, and part of it, Pat Farmer being one of them, and
Mhm.
others as well. That's a great way of putting it. Um, so when you found out and you got the nod, how much of your did you have to spend a lot of time well, because I mean, again, like I say, you're still producing, the Letterman show at a breakneck speed, at a breakneck time in the place of history. It got more intense, but now you're kind of having to wear two hats a little bit. Did that happen a lot, or was it mostly after Late Show went off the air? That's when you really started working with the other team.
No, I think it took about 9 months to get. So I think probably around December, January, we had probably started purchasing equipment for people and specking out what was going to be um, needed or used or networked or whatever. So no, it was definitely before. I think dark days possibly and or mornings, which were less important for people like me.
Yep.
Um, and before Zoom, before all meetings were in person, so it was. But I started to dress better. Um, maybe you should dress a little nice. I mean, I'm not a bad dresser or anything by any means. But I was like, yeah, maybe
Yeah,
I'll.
the technical crew didn't have a dress code.
No, 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 no. But I exercised a little personal yeah, step it up a little bit,
Yeah,
make.
yeah,
Well, I'm hanging in the broadcast center with all these people wearing suits, and I never wore a suit to work. I did not start wearing suits, but did get a jacket and
yeah.
try to zhuzh it up a little bit.
Um, Okay, so now we're talking about the transition period and all that sort of stuff, but the transition period started with a bit of a thunk. The show ends on May 20th, and quite literally the next day, those of us who are deep into this when it comes to our enthusiasm, devastated seeing the pictures coming out of New York. You have an interesting place in this because, you knew the mammoth job ahead of converting everything in that building from the theater itself to the office building itself to go from the old regime, which had been around, for 22 years plus, to we want to make it shiny and new for the new regime. So, and the job was trying to kind of, put a garbage truck through a pinhole. It was not an easy thing to do. So you saw that. But then also the devastation the next day of going, oh my gosh, they're trashing Letterman's studio and throwing it in dumpsters. That must have been an interesting time for you.
Yeah, it was really it was kind of scarring a little
Yeah.
bit, but a lot of people felt that way. A lot of people were just in. It was like that scene in Animal House where they take the bar out of the like took the bar, the whole fucking bar,
Yeah.
and that's kind of how I felt as all this stuff. I did get a pair of seats. I have a couple of theater seats that got torn out.
Yep. Good.
It was chaos in the building. It was chaos on every floor. And then, like, very, very shortly after that, there was nobody left. There were no people, and just stuff everywhere, office chairs here and monitors there, and stuff that they just left behind that like, we're not taking this. I picked up a few little choice pieces of things that I found, but it was kind of sad going through there. For the first time ever, their floor was unlocked, so I could go on the Worldwide Pants floor and see the debris left behind to like, is this worth anything? Should we keep this? Should we throw this out? Like, it was it was a really weird time. And those of us attached to the theater and the whole thing, it felt strange when the marquee came down and all this other stuff. But I guess that's what happens when you have a new show. It's not, I mean, the amount of work and restoration they did to the Ed Sullivan Theater was incredible. In the amount of time they did it,
Mhm.
I really do understand why they had to start the very second afterwards, because there was not a moment to lose between May and September. They transformed this entire building. And not in a small way. There was scaffolding all the way up to the top of the theater.
Yep.
And I was on top of the scaffolding. I could touch the dome. They took down the whole gantry system, and you can't imagine how much different it is, and it's really beautiful. They did a fantastic job. Um, but it started off as very jarring to a lot of people. And
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Well put on all of that. And it is the nice thing about the Ed Sullivan Theater still, which I appreciate so much. The lobby is the same, and then when you walk in, it's the same feeling. The energy, the flush of energy that you get when you walk into that room. As different as it was from when Late Show was there to compare to the Late Show, the energy still assaults you in such a beautiful, positive way, in such a good way, and they did an incredible job. One of the times that I was there was a guest of CBS. So when you're a guest of CBS, you get to sit right in the front row of the balcony, and boy, the viewpoint of like there isn't a perspective where you have your vision pointed that isn't absolutely awesome, and then you point it into a few degrees to the left or to the right, and it's equally as awesome and up and down. Like it's so beautiful. From a technical standpoint, how much was different from the last Late Show with David Letterman to the first The Late Show with Stephen Colbert? How much was different for you? Were there a lot of bugs? Like, was it so different that you actually had a lot of bugs that you had to get out of the system to get things flowing properly?
yeah, everything was new. So yes, there's always that version one, trouble. We got pretty close. Almost everything was ready to go when we first went to air. The only thing that wasn't really working was archive, and that requires transporting files, something we never did with Letterman. Transporting files to the broadcast center for archive on a big, big system that resides over there. And it took us like a month to really get that. But we did electronic delivery versus tape delivery. We also sent backup XD cam discs, but our main delivery of the show is electronic now.
Yep.
So there's a lot of differences. It was the first night troubles were not related to any kind of bugs. It was a different situation, but it's a good story. And even Stephen told the story the second night of the show when I was watching the monologue of show number two of Colbert, and he's like, "Hey, we almost didn't make it to air last night." And I'm like, "No, oh no, here it comes, here it comes." And his version of the story is slightly different from my version of the
Sure.
story, a different perspective, but it was exciting.
Broad strokes, the differences in your job, and the differences of the current show compared to the old show, and it's not a better, worse thing. It's not anything like that, but just differences in your job.
Um, I kind of do the same thing. I'm actually more focused on the post environment than I was in the Letterman era. In the Letterman era, I wasn't specifically post. I was the guy who knew post and knew how to, fix it.
Right.
But I could be responsible for anything. And now I'm less responsible for other things and more responsible for post. And there are other engineers who are much better at other areas of the facility. So that's a slight difference for me. I get to focus on one thing. But that's because the people I work with are really strong. One's a former colleague. The former colleague, he took the ABC job that I turned down.
No kidding.
Yeah, and then I hired him away from ABC a few years ago, and he was like, "You're lucky you didn't take that job." I'm like, "Yeah, I know."
No kidding.
Yeah, big small business, yeah. And then I hire another engineer recently in the last year and a half, and I find out he lives 5 streets away from me in my town, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" It's really it's a big small business, but I what else is different? You know, working on Letterman, walking into the best crew in the business, people who knew everything about everything, and how much I learned. It was really great. But it was a different energy, right? So then Colbert comes in and you have all these young people. I'm the old guy. People start
Yeah.
calling me sir. I'm like, oh, and there's a lot more youthful energy
Yeah.
being on Colbert, rightly. And they're also not experienced enough to know whether something can't be done or not,
Right.
right? So actually, sometimes that pushed us even harder to go, okay, maybe we can solve that problem. Whereas I'm not sure we were presented with those kinds of things when I was working on Letterman, like, oh, we're going to do something that maybe can't be done. Figure it out.
Yep.
That happens a lot in the current environment, especially during COVID. I mean, during COVID, the whole Zoom part of the show ran out of my house. I was the Zoom czar
Are
of,
you kidding me? I didn't know that.
yeah, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, so it's a very different energy. I really love it. I loved working with all those, senior professionals who knew everything. It was tremendous. It was tremendous. And then I get to meet a whole nother bunch of like energetic, exciting, can't be stopped kind of people. And it was challenging and it's really good. We did some things that nobody ever thought we could do. And I'm really happy about that.
Have you enjoyed? I'm curious as to your how things are for you when you guys decide to broadcast a live show, whether it's on an election night or after a Super Bowl or whatever it was. Sometimes you guys will broadcast a live show. Does that change your job significantly?
Changes my hours significantly.
Yeah.
But the other thing is it's actually for me, because I'm in post or, focus on that,
Yeah.
it's actually less stressful because there is no post. There's no editing. It is what it is. It's going to be
Yep.
the time, and the director is going to say cut, and we're going to go to commercial. And we got so good at doing live shows. It was astonishing, like what we could pull off. Even during COVID, we did some live shows on COVID, which was
Yeah.
on Zoom, which was like unthinkable, to be honest. Um, and so it's just been a really exciting run, and I love the youthful energy. That's
So right now, we're sitting, just before the holiday season and all of that stuff, as at the time that we record this, knowing that in May, everything changes again, and we don't know exactly what it's going to change to. Just over 10 years ago, you were in the exact same boat with Late Show. Similar feelings. I mean, obviously you're 10 years older and whatnot, and different teams and whatnot. But is it sort of a similar anticipation?
it. It is. It's a little, should I be out there knocking on doors looking for jobs? Yeah, I probably should. But again, I have this feeling, just like Stephen, is like we want to land the plane.
Yes.
We just want to bring it in smooth. and that's going to be really exciting and really fun. I can't wait to do that.
Yeah.
So and roll the dice. What's going to happen to the Ed Sullivan Theater? Anybody knows? Let me know because I don't know. It's too small for Broadway.
Yeah.
It's too small for music performances. So what do you do in that? It's a television studio, really, technically. Is would they sell it? Would they consider putting another show in there? I don't know. But if something comes, I'm interested. I'd like to keep a job. I don't want to be unemployed. Um, I don't know really what's going to happen in the future, but I'm going to land the plane and I'm
Oh,
gonna get the lights out and I'm going to archive all the stuff and I'm going to put it to bed the way it needs to. Hopefully we have the time to do that, but because there's a lot of stuff to archive and erase, but that's kind of, where I'm at.
I Letterman's former producer Robert Morton was on not that long ago. We were talking about this, and the idea. Someone floated out the idea that Netflix should buy it because, like you said, it's too small for music unless the music is for a video presentation of some sort. Because then it is absolutely perfect. That 500 seats or whatever it is, comedy specials, things like that, and you've got Netflix and some of these like last night the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was on broadcast stream live on Disney Plus. These live events are becoming more and more these communal moments that can happen. And the idea of Netflix owning that place where, any one of the roster of their comedians could do a stand-up special at any time there or a musical thing, it would make sense to keep it as a television studio. You say it's too small for Broadway.
Yeah, I mean, you could put some tiny seats in there, but I don't really think you're going to get more than like 700 people in there. Right now,
Yeah.
it's 50 or 450. It's, the balcony is different from when the Beatles were there. There was things that were removed. It's not quite the same. Um, could you jam more seats in there? Yeah, sure. Airplanes do that all the time, but don't think I don't think there's enough butts in the seats to make it worthwhile for Broadway. But hopefully something. I don't know.
And again, not to get too much into the if it is politics, whatever it is that you want to call it of television, but like Harvey's studio had never been redone. Just a couple years ago, they spent a chunk of change giving him a new studio. Other technical improvements that have happened to that theater. I mean, it's in such beautiful shape in so many ways. It would be such a shame if something like this were to happen. But it doesn't seem like a couple years ago it was even thinkable that this show and that production might stop. But at the end of the day, it's nice to know that there are people who care about the place as much as you do. Did you speaking of airplanes? Did you go to California to the Emmys with the rest of the team?
Oh yeah, this past Emmys,
Just
yes,
yeah for the yeah this
it was
2025.
a thrill. It was a real thrill to go and to win. And it's different when you win. I didn't realize. It really is. But we worked so hard, and it's great to be nominated. But it was real fun to win. We had a terrific time.
When you guys won, where were you?
We're in the balcony with, I don't know, roughly 200 other people from the show
Yeah.
because Stephen and Evie were kind enough to bring us all, which was tremendous. So yeah, we're up in the balcony. We're not on the floor segment of the Emmys. And I'm sure you heard us on TV. We were loud. We were
Oh
very.
yeah, very, very much so. Um, the broadcast of the Emmys ends. You guys are all up there. Where do you go? Are you all together most of the night? Did you branch off into different groups? How did that work?
Party. We have a party. We don't go to the governor's ball. They go to the governor's ball for a little
Uh-huh.
bit. That's a sort of a touch and go. I don't think they
Make an
spend too.
appearance.
Yeah, I don't think they spend too much time there. And then we had a beautiful party place all set up, and it wasn't too long after that Stephen walked in with the Emmy, and it all hell broke loose. It was really cool. Very, very fun time. But yeah, we're just partying until we can't party anymore. And Also, a lot of the crew work on other shows too. Some work on John Oliver, some work on Saturday Night Live. They go to their HBO parties. They go to wherever, I'm a one man. I'm
And a little
staying.
unique when it comes to that because again, yeah, like you say, a lot of these people, a lot of I've got friends, in different departments, who worked for a few. If there's a few that still are holdovers from Late Show, but they're also, like you say, working on many other shows. It's kind of a rare thing for you to be one of these guys that just works for the one show as opposed to a whole bunch of different projects within either CBS or the union's
Yeah.
landscape.
Well, if my skill was more transportable, yes, but a camera is a camera wherever it is, it
Yeah,
works. So, but I really like working in the one spot. It's good.
I gotcha. Um, well, I just again want to convey to those people that you're talking about here, that crew, who works for Steven and the Late Show and the amazing work you guys are doing. Just know that there's a lot of empathy from a lot of places with what you guys are going through. But the idea that you're gonna keep partying till you can't party anymore is exactly what we would all hope for you. And I hope it is. I hope that the unforeseen bangs that are gonna come. That there are, you don't go out with one bang, but there are a lot of bangs that happen between now. I hope the holiday season is incredible for you guys, and then the ramp up to what you've done. Again, not an easy thing to succeed, David Letterman, and there. I don't know how many people on the planet could do it. Colbert in many respects. I mean, Conan O'Brien and Stephen Colbert are the two men who have done it and both done it very, very well. It's very cool that that's going to be the case for you, that you are staying there and get to see. Again, not very many of you got a chance to see the end of these two historic runs in television. Amazing, absolutely amazing, Erik. Thank you for your contribution to it. You've got, I love show and tell in this show. I love it very, very much. And you've got some pictures that we can share of some of the things, the keepsakes and the things that you have seen over the years.
Yeah, I scrounge things all the time. I still have Sue Hum's Polaroid camera that she left behind. Um, my door at
Fantastic.
my door at CBS is called the Museum of Lost Formats, and it is loaded with old technology from records to laser discs to whatever. And Sue Hum's Polaroid camera is on my door. But I don't know what's going to happen after I go to that door, but let's hope something good. Yeah, I'm the unofficial keeper of the unofficial Late Show Museum in my office currently, and that's from the current show.
Yep.
Weird stuff ends up in the office and it ends up in the free box, and I'm the idiot who picks it up and puts it on my shelf and calls it a museum.
I'm
So,
that guy too. I've always been that guy. And being a collector of things that have sort of an energetic pull, I can 100% relate to what you're talking about. When you said you have Sue Hum's Polaroid camera, that delights me to no end. That's fantastic.
I
Oh, there's the Explodo Pop.
I'll show you because my Zoom, I don't know why I can't like
No, it's looking good over here. I can see it. I can see it
sometimes
here.
disappears into the background. Let me share a couple images. So let's see, where am I in my stack here? Hold on, give me a second. Okay, here we go.
You got a funny little story about the Explodo Pop. So when we get to that picture, I can't wait to hear that one.
Yeah, so here's this. We're going to share this with you.
There we
I
go.
I believe
Yep.
you have a stack of these postcards of
I have a small stack of those. Those are rejection postcards.
yes, you did not make it, and we do not need you. Uh, uh, I got some hand warmers, branded hand warmers.
Yes.
They still give out hand warmers at the show, but they're not branded.
Oh,
Um,
do they still give out? Really
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, there's still people who are. It's not as cold as Dave's day. I think our temperature is maybe 4 or 5 degrees warmer than when Letterman had it,
Yep.
but it's still cold.
Keeps the
Uh,
comedy fresh. Yep.
then
There's
we
the drinking cup. Oh, that's such a great keepsake.
up, yep. I got a couple of those. These, as you could see, right? I wear this hat, and
Hmm.
these are my hats over the years. I just run them into the ground until they couldn't stand up anymore. But
Our boy
Yeah.
Rupert still sells them, by the way.
Yeah, I probably need another one. Rupert, I need another. But I wore this show to Colbert for a while. I was like, until you give me a hat, I'm sorry, I'm wearing this hat. And eventually they gave me a Late Show, a new Late Show hat.
Yeah.
Alan Coulter, you're busted.
Oh,
The microphone little thing that would go around. Miss Alan, he was a lovely guy.
uh,
Uh,
yeah. Okay, we'll get to Alan. Remind me to talk about Alan before we finish the show. Yeah, the Explodo Pop.
Explodo Pop again. I found these in a closet somewhere not too long after I joined, actually,
Yep.
and just kept them. And recently, when Dave was on Colbert, a bunch of us who worked on his show got to hang out with him afterwards backstage.
Yep.
And I showed him this, and he's like, "Oh my God, where'd you get that?" And I had a box. I gave it to him. It was nice. He was a
Now I got to ask you, Eric, was that your first major interaction with Dave?
No. During the show,
Okay, we'll get to that too then. We'll get to that too. Let's keep going on the slideshow and we'll get to that.
okay. This
Oh,
was
what is that?
this was by my desk when I literally started. My computer, they wanted to give me a PC. I said, I want a Mac. And they're like, the only Mac we have is Harvey Goldberg's old Mac that nobody wants. I'm like, that's what I want. I want Harvey Goldberg's old Mac. And next to it was this little piece of woodwork that I have no idea who did, but it was nice. I kept it.
Oh, that is really cool.
And then there was a stack 4 feet high of these bumpers. Look
Oh
at
my God.
4 feet high. I wish I had taken more than 5 of them, but I just took 5. I was like, I don't know, I'll just take a couple.
Whoa.
But somebody left the whole, that's the back of the card, the front of the
Yep.
card.
Yep.
And
We're
then
gonna show our boy Mark Carson this. Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
Mark's going to be like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
These,
Oh.
and I don't, continuous tone, 48%. I don't know what that is, but I just left it on there because that's
Yep.
what was when I picked it up. Um,
Oh my God.
oh, and this was EJ when he was
There
on the
we
show.
go. EJ.
Yeah,
Oh, and
EJ.
he saw. Oh, that's really, really
Yeah,
awesome.
EJ, great job. All my best. Be nice to your dad. Dave, love Dave doing that. And then, oh, sorry, wrong way. Oh, and then Anna was jealous, my daughter. So I got a picture to Anna. All my best. Be kind to your father, Dave.
Oh, that is so precious.
Yes, very sweet. He was very sweet. And then
Look at this picture.
Okay, so John is taking the class picture
Yep.
of all of us, and he is up on a fire escape across the street. And I
Yep.
guess, it attracted the press and other people who were hanging around.
Yep.
So one of the press photographers took this picture, and I guess I didn't know about this picture. I didn't know it existed. And my sister all of a sudden sent this to me. She was in advertising. And she actually licensed this picture from the photographer so I could have a copy of it,
Oh
which
my
was really nice.
gosh.
But I was like, to have me and Dave in the same picture, and of course, a lot of other notable people there.
Oh yeah, Paul and
I cherish,
Barbara.
I cherish this photo, and it was such a joyous thing.
Yeah, that is a beautiful, beautiful photograph.
Yeah. Oh wait, I'm going the wrong way again. No, I think that's all the stuff I have to show.
Okay, so let's finish off and talk about again, I asked the question not in jest at all, like Dave comes and sees you guys as the holdovers, as the handful of people. And there's a beautiful picture of that. I'll see if I can dig that up. I've got that somewhere. The picture of you guys behind this, the night he came to the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and the entire show dedicated to Dave, including the musical guest having the National there, and everything about that show was so beautiful. And I said to you, it wasn't in jest. Is this the only time? Is this one of the few interactions you actually had with Dave? Because there were people, wrote for the show for a long time that can count on one hand how many times they actually had interactions with him. And that's just the ecosystem, and that's part of the beauty of what was, and it's interesting to me. That being said, the signatures for the kids on the photographs there, interactions with Dave over the years. Any notable ones other than the ones we've just talked about?
As a tech guy, I would be in situations where there was some technology that needed help in Dave's, dressing room or his office. I'd go up there and he'd like, hey, I told you I wouldn't. I monkeyed with the remote and now no sound is coming out of the stereo. Can you fix it for me? I'm like, yeah, Dave, I got it. No problem.
If it ain't broke, we can fix it.
Yeah. It was those types of things. Or in his dressing room, again, we installed one of those things because everything before we installed this new system was they literally would go up with a stack of VHS tapes and then put one in the machine and go, okay, here, play this one. Okay, take that tape out, put another one in. We put a digital system in there, and once it needed some massaging or somebody pushed the wrong button or whatever. So I had to go in the dressing room, and it's sort of a charged environment before a show. There's a lot going on. There's people, there's discussions, Dave's there. And Dave's nothing but cool and nice. And he's like, he goes, you look like Tim Cindric, the head of Penske Racing. He goes, similarity to Tim Cindric. I'm, oh, that's cool. I didn't know. I looked it up and I'm like, yeah, I actually do look like this. But yeah, I mean, I talked to him at a Christmas party once. He was very sweet. I talked to him on the last night at the Museum of Modern Art. He was more than happy to talk, and it was yeah, any interactions I had with him were great. The whole, oh, don't look him in the eye, don't say anything to him. I never believed any of that. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but I personally never had any kind of awkward. I almost got run over by him once when he was running down the hallway. It was really when I first started, and I didn't know you weren't supposed to be in the hallway when Dave runs past.
Yep.
So I really just kind of got out of the way at the last second, and somebody's like, "Don't ever do that again." I'm like, "All right, promise I'll stay away." But
that pre-show ritual, getting his energy up though, getting the
yeah,
blood
oh yeah,
pumping, getting ready
oh
to
yeah.
go.
Yeah, it was always a pleasant and fulfilling.
And then the moment where he comes back, and that picture was taken with you guys, and I'll post it here. I'll put it up, because I've got it somewhere. Must have been full circle. Like, again, you talk about the energy that you feel during some of these moments. The night that he announces retirement, that energy. That being said, the night, that's not just a routine show for you. The night that Dave comes back to the Late Show.
Right. No, it's special. It's really nice that we got to hang out with him and Mary, and it was kind of calm backstage, and it was really cool. The picture you have, do you have the regular version or the bearded version?
I think I have I have the. I've seen both. I think I have the
Oh,
regular
okay, good.
version, but I've
Uh,
seen both. We should put both up. We should
I
we
don't know
should
if you
do that.
put
Make
the
sure both
bearded
get up.
version up, but anyhow, yeah, we all had Letterman beards. It was funny. But yeah, it was really cool to be included in that. It was really, and he was genuine and recognized us and had fun. It was really cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Erik, before we and now, okay, I'm gonna ask you, prematurely, but when the show ends in May, providing everything goes the way that it seems like it's going to go right now, I would love to have you back on the show and ask you a little bit more specifically about, the Colbert Show and some of the things that are happening there and whatnot. But really, at the end of the day, you're just locked in for a pretty amazing rocket ride over this next 7 or 8 months, however long it's going to be here. So please come back. I would love to have you back. Before we finish up this conversation, your first appearance on here, is there anything else that you thought of that I missed, that we missed, that you want to note here?
No, I think I blabbed enough. I a few stories. I'm sure afterwards I'll go, oh, I should have said this, but No, I really enjoyed being here and talking to you, and somebody so knowledgeable of what I've done over the years. The show in general. It's great to share those moments with someone who knows what it's like.
I appreciate it, Eric. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for coming on the show. Before we finish, we're going to finish the way that we always do. We do have one sponsor and one sponsor only of the Letterman podcast, and that is Rupert G and the Hello Deli. I assume you've got a lot of memories of Rupert and May over the years.
Oh God, yeah. I was in there every day. Like at some point, I was on I would call on my cell phone. They would know that I want food for breakfast. They would pick up the phone and just hang it back up. And then by the time I got to the Hello Deli, here's your order. Get ready. You're ready to go. I tried to get him to name a sandwich after me, and it just didn't work as much as I tried. I tried a burger. I was like, how about you name a burger after me? The Bingo Burger with peanut butter and bacon on it. And I don't know.
Take my money. I'm in.
But I miss Rupert and May. I loved hanging out with them. They were just such a great fixture they were part of the building, and it was so much fun to experience that.
And
So
again, when the new crew
Rupert,
came, oh, what's that?
I said,
Say that-
thank you, Rupert.
Thanks, Rupert. Yeah. And I'm, he's such a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guy. He and May are just so sweet. And shout out to them. Shout out to Irene, Rupert's girl, a gal pal, as we like to say. And you talk about your spot, your unique spot. The Worldwide Pants crew, which was their family for so long, suddenly gone, and this new young group there, optimistic, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed group, Colbert's group, comes in, and they get a whole different group of regulars, but a few holdovers, and you got to be one of those holdovers that stayed, and that I happen to know that was very precious for them. The ones who got to stay and part of the old crew that would still come and frequent the shop. Very, very important to them. So thank you. Hello-deli.com if you want any Late Show with David Letterman merchandise, including the hat that Eric is wearing right there. Not the jacket, though. Not the jacket. He's wearing one of the pants jackets. How many of those things you got left?
I got a few. I rarely wore them because my job didn't always center on being in the theater. My office was cold. It was a machine room. But it wasn't as cold as the theater. You could not see your breath. So hence, after wearing them for a little bit each year, I would just put them back and put them in the box and store them. So I've got a few, not as many as some others, but I cherish them. They mean a lot. Thank you, Dave.
Absolutely. I've been lucky enough to have been given a few during this run here, and I love every single one of them. So grateful for them. Again, it's just like when you walk in the theater, there's a little bit of energy that's there. I don't know how else to describe it, but it feels like you're part of something special. Eric, you certainly have been, and one of the takeaways that I just have from this conversation today is just how grateful you are and how present you are, and I appreciate that very, very much about you. I hope that you're able to stay both of those things and more as you move into the close here. I very much look forward to the second time that we do this on camera, and anytime, man, call, text, whatever. You're a friend. I appreciate you very, very much. Thank you so much for appearing here today on the Letterman podcast.
You bet, Mike. It was my pleasure. I really enjoyed it.
Me too, man. Me too. This is why we do the show. We do the show to talk about all of these amazing times and places that so many of us communally still pine for in so many ways. And we remember this is one of the ways of doing that, talking about the most important, in my opinion, the most important broadcast history of any television show, the greatest body of broadcast work in history, that of David Letterman and company. Thank you so much for being on the show here today, Eric. My name is Mike Chisholm. That is another episode of the Letterman Podcast. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
This is the Ed Sullivan Theater. This is the office where my dad works. The audience enters the theater through here. The audience waits outside. The Beatles played here 50 years ago. All these people have had a show in the theater. We are entering the lobby of the Ed Sullivan Theater. This is the Ed Sullivan Theater. It holds 350 people. Let's explore the stage. This is where the CBS Orchestra performs. No food is allowed on the set.
Hey now, check, 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 check. Toot, toot, toot,
Everyone tests out all the equipment before the show, even the piano.
Hey now. Check, 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 check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The scenery has many fiber optic lights. This is the EC where my dad works. It's where all the wires come together. This is the bench where he works. The control room is where the director and producer sit. The technical director has over 1,000 buttons to press. This is the sound effects department.
Yeah, I can push any button you want. I remember it as if it were yesterday. And I'm absolutely right. And this is the one the writers love at almost any time. And if Dave gets electrocuted, and when he's done being electrocuted,
this is the videotaping room. They play all the videotapes on the show. This is the edit machine room. The equipment on this rack costs over $1 million. These are pictures of the staff. Dave runs down this hallway before every show. Here they make funny props. Every show they've made is on the shelf, over 4,000 shows. This is the edit room. Today's show is featuring Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga invited her audience to go across the street to see her play. Right next door is the Hello Deli. Rupert is on this show a lot. And now, here's the show.
They don't talk to me.
Yeah.
I don't talk to them. Bang, zoom.
All right.